this is a silly one. This is a look at three comedies I've done. Well, made in the 60s. It was a vogue in the time where it was all-star casts and these epic comedies. You get various examples. You'd have like Casino Royale, which had an epic cast. You had Around the World in 80 Days from the 50s that inspired it. But these three are actual races, versions of races basically going on. Set in the past and dealing with like caricatures. So it's a great race. Those Magnificent Men in the Flying Machines and Monte Carlo or Bust. And these are all films of a certain time that just fell out of fashion once the 70s hit. It was like it was a comfort food for people who were not interested in social reality. They wanted the cartoonish reality in the 60s. So nostalgia for an older time and also some silliness of these various characters. That's what they wanted. So that's what they got with these films. Now, the biggest success is actually those Magnificent Men in the Flying Machines. It made a lot of money. It's actually the worst of the three films. The Great Race was a mega budget film which probably cost too much for its own good. Monte Carlo Bust did okay, but there was no more films after it, which suggests that the fad had gone at that point. But one of the things is, if you're watching them now, is it's nice to see the cars and the old-fashioned stylizations that probably was the thing that got them popular in the first place, was a sense of none of these films are amazing, but it's a nice world to watch, and it's a nice world to see. And that's what they bring. It brings something that no longer exists, but you can see it in these films. So even now you can see that in the films. It's like there's a joy of watching a lot of these practically shot planes and cars doing these crazy things that you can't do nowadays. You try and do it CGI and it would look very mediocre, because you know it's not real. So I'll start with The Great Race. The Great Race was made by Blake Edwards. My brain just blanked here. Another Edwards in this week's films. And he also made Pink Panther movies, which were already big at that point. He made a bunch of other comedies, Operation Petticoat. So he was on a roll. So he'd get the studio to bankrupt itself basically to make this film, which is A Great Race. It's a mega budget tribute to the silent comedies where there's a lot of physical gags, and the whole idea is it's two characters. It's a character doing this great race from New York to Paris, and you have to go through various. You have to go all across America, then go by boat over to Alaska, then drive through Russia to Europe, and then get to Paris. So it's all around the world basically, and there are various competitors, but most of it taken out during an American run of the race. So it's really between Tony Curtis as the guy in white, the great hero, and who has the gag is, no matter how dirty the fight, his costume is still always white and never ever gets touched. And you have Jack Lemmon as Professor Fate, who's the villain with the big moustache, and Lemmon steals the film. Lemmon pretty much steals the film. I mean, to be honest, Tony Curtis in this film as the guy in white, he looks kind of bored. Like, he's phoning it in to a degree. Which the funny thing is, in the Monte Carlo Bust later on, he's in that as well, and he's having a lot of fun because he's playing a character who's not like the Tony Curtis stereotype. Because here he's playing this Tony Curtis stereotype. He's basically playing himself, or what people think he is. And it's a part he's played many times before, and it's not demanding like Sweet Smell of Success or Some Like It Hot. It's basically show up and do your thing in these scenes that aren't that great for you, because everyone else is the best part and you've got the dull part. So he does it professionally, but you can sense that he's not really having a lot of fun with this part. There's nothing there that creates a sense within the scenes of him having fun. Natalie Wood plays the woman who's she wants to prove women can do things when they're still not with the vote. So she's going to prove it. She wants a job at this newspaper, be a reporter, and the guy won't give it to her. So she, first of all, she gets on to his wife, who makes her husband give her the assignment, which then starts off this massive feminist movement from the paper while the race is going on, which is very basic jokes, but it worked well enough. I mean, they're not great, but they're not painful either. But Natalie Wood, even though apparently she wasn't that keen in doing it, seems to be in the right. She gave us a performance suggestion, a lot of having some fun during the scenes. She did it so she could do Inside Daisy Clover at the same time, and that's how they got on the film. And even though she wasn't enthused about the film, she's a professional and she came in and she actually did a good job playing this character who is a proto-feminist and who won't give up and is plucky. And she gives a kind of very tomboy performance with all these dresses on. Very feminine in some ways, very tomboy in other ways. Who's willing to fight people and fight dirty. And it's enjoyable what she's doing. And it's funny is whenever you see her put her with Jack Lemmon, she's having a lot more fun with Jack Lemmon she ever has with Tony Curtis, because Jack Lemmon's also in it. Jack Lemmon also has Peter Falk as his assistant, and they're having a ball. I mean, they're just doing these extreme. I mean, Jack Lemmon tended to play more realistic characters, so this was a chance for him to actually play an outrageous villain. And he grabs it and chews every bit of scenery that's available. The film is worth watching just for Jack Lemmon, because he's just having a ball. And Peter Falk is having fun playing his assistant. Basically, this is Muttley, who knows he's going to fail and is enjoying watching him fail. And those two together are constantly hilarious. Like, Falk's always loyalty Jack Lemmon's character, even though Jack Lemmon's character treats him horribly. And whenever they get into tangos with Natalie Wood, you can just tell that these are actually having fun with each other and just winding each other up and doing silly things. And there's just an energy to those scenes that really comes together. And when Falk and Lemon are together, there's also an energy to these scenes where they're just having fun playing these characters who are pompous, stupid, but they just go for the gag every time. No matter, they're tireless going for the gag. I mean, Fate is the greedy, stupid idiot who thinks he's a great inventor. And he always fails. But Lemon gives him an energy, so you always want to see him keep on failing. And he's just so enjoyable. He has a terrific voice. He is just so pompous. It's just a complete joy. He also has a second part playing this guy who's the Prince of Zenda parody, where there's a prince who's going to get replaced by a lookalike, and so Lemon as Dr. Fate has to impersonate this drunk prince. So Lemon gets to play this drunk, spoiled prince as well, and he's a ball playing that too. So Lemon's just chewing every bit of scenery through the film. And you probably notice I haven't seen much about the plot, because there really isn't one. It's just race scene after race scene, gag after gag of different things with cars. That's all the film is. That's all it needs to be. It's way too long, but whatever, you never really want to cut the Lemon stuff. It's just the Tony Curtis stuff you can do without, because it's obviously an actor not that enthused. Following on from that, coming out just after that was Magnificent Men in the Flying Machines, created by Ken Addington. And I think this was made around at the same time, though. It was so close, I don't think it was... I think... I'm not sure if it was released after, but I think there were kind of... projects were going along online at the same time, basically. But I think Great Race came out first, but I can't be actually accurate with that. But it's another race thing. This time it's about these planes who are going to go from UK to Paris, and it's watch them do their practice for the first hour and then do the race in the second hour. And it stars Stuart Whitman, who is a big problem with the film because he's not well cast. He's been okay in other stuff, but in this one he's just doesn't have the energy the part needs. He does not have the energy the film needs to drive it forward as lead man. And him and Sarah Miles do not get on as a couple, or apparently in real life, apparently hate each other, and it comes through the scenes as they're meant to be the love interest for each other, and there's just nothing there. There's no chemistry, no nothing. So all of these scenes that are meant to interest you just don't interest you. There's other parties from different countries, so you get in the Great Race, you basically two American rivals in the race, and everyone else is non-existent. So they go through like the West and through Alaska and through a European country, and it's still all about Americans. And this one is all about different characters. So you have the French, you have the Italians, you have the Germans. Everyone hates the Germans. Everyone's mocking the Germans. The Germans have to succeed, or they'll never, for some reason, have to succeed for the pride. The Italians mock the German. Well, the French mock the Germans. The Italian guy is an addict to racing, and it's, you basically like the French guys most because they have a sense of humour and are just enjoying themselves, and they don't seem to give a shit about winning the race. It's just like, I'm going to have some fun here, and hey, we might win or we might not win, who cares? And the Italian guy is having lots of bad luck, but he's an enjoyable character too. The Germans are good villains, and it's good to see them set up. The British guy is played by, I think, James Fox, and he's inoffensive in the film. It's one of those things where you're a good actor given a rubbish part, so if he does his best. Rob Morley shows up as well as a guy who's financing the race, and it's one of those things where Terry Thomas is the villain, obviously, and Eric Sykes is his assistant, and it's the same dynamic from Jack Lemmon and Peter Falk from Great Race. You know, the obvious villains. They have less to do in this film, and Monte Carlo bust, they're given more to do. They realise this is the team to really be the fun part of it. And by this time they're not given enough to do, and they really needed more of them. Because Terry Thomas's game to be the awful, horrible person you want to see lose, you know, who cheat at every moment. So the film's fun, but it's way too long for what the story is. It has too many performances that don't really land. But what you really have is the planes. You have the planes plus the supporting performances, and they all work. But it's just not that great a film. It's just an enjoyable film for what it is, but it's not great. It's like, out of these three films, this is the one I'd rewatch least. Because it's the least fun. Now you have Monte Carlo or Bust, which, again, Ken Arkin doing the direction. It's like when I've been in the Fly Machine, in a sense that it's very disjointed. It has a a cast of different people from different countries, different actors from different countries. Again, the supporting parts are actually more fun than the central story. But at least in the central story this time, you've Tony Curtis come back to a racing thing, but he's playing a nerd who's really enjoying this time. And Curtis, he tells enjoying playing a nerdy character who's oblivious to lots of stuff, and he just says in the scenes he's having fun. And it's something that's if you've watched this and Great Race close together, you can spot the difference in the actor's energy straight away. Just this one, he seems to be having fun with what he's doing, which is funny because him and the director didn't apparently get on, but he's having fun in the scenes. Terry Thomas has a bigger part, playing the son of his character from the first one, and he's having fun as well. Him and Eric Sykes are back, and they're having loads of fun, playing that villain up even more. You have Peter Cook and Dudley Moore as these two inventors who were in the military, and they want to show them off their inventions, so that's why they're in the race. And they can be funnier than this, but they're perfectly passable in this film, and within the ensemble, they work really well. Because it's one of those things, they can be better than this, but it's still enjoyable to see them. They've got energy, it works pretty well. Gertrude Frobe plays a German criminal who's is basically sneaking diamonds from one country to through the race for somebody, and he's a speed addict and he's a criminal, and he's enjoyable as well. He played the German villain in Lift Him in the Fly Machines, the German guy who was trying to win the race for Germany, So he's having fun playing Hamming it up as a villain. You have these Italian guys who want to win the race so that they can quit their jobs. And they start off as lunatics, because they're policemen, but they're actually lunatics. But they become more likeable as the film goes on. And basically starts off the races from different countries all coming in to this one. So basically, if the first part of the race, you have different races, different parts, and eventually they'll arrive. If they survive that part of the race, they'll arrive at one point where the rest of the time everyone's racing against each other for this last leg. That's the problem with the film, in a sense, is the second half of the film is better than the first. Once they all meet up in a hotel and have the race after that, the film is much better because you have people interacting with each other a lot more. Before, you'd a little bit of setup, and then you'd scenes where you'd groups of 3 different sets of characters interacting with each other. But it wasn't as much fun because it was like very obvious stuff. Like Terry Thomas versus Tony Curtis was one. You had Peter Cook and Get Rope in another one, and you had Italians and these women races in another one, which worked fine, but it kind of was nothing. The stakes never really got up that much. There was more interaction you could have done in interesting ways than you got. But as soon as you actually get to the point where they're all in one hotel, the backstabbing comes out a lot more, the craziness comes out a lot more, actors can interact with each other a lot more, and it's a lot more fun instantly. It's just more enjoyable, and the film just worked better in the second half. But it's still an enjoyable, passable film, much better than the Flying Machines film for me. Just it's sillier, it's broader, and even the first half there's some good bits in it. It's just that the good bits are broken up within other bits that aren't as good. In the second half, it's much more good bit after good bit after good bit. So that's just kind of how that film works. But these are still enjoyable films. None of them are great. And the joy really is watching those old machines plus some of the actors really having a good time. Plot-wise, there's nothing really inventive here. There really isn't. But it still works pretty well. So these are worth watching. I saw them on streaming. iTunes have them streaming. If you're interested, you can probably rent them or get them very, very, very little money, and they're good quality HD transfers. So if you're interested, go for it, because these are good, enjoyable films. Just don't expect them anything amazing, and go in knowing they're all too long. It's that thing is being long meant something in the 60s. In a way that now we've got the same thing with the superhero films, that everything's too long, too bloated, and somebody's come along and say, nope, we're doing something different now. That's what these films felt like, but they're the more acceptable versions of that kind of strategy. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with another one. That's me for now.